morning, Americans. This is your favorite alien and Bubba here on Saturday, January 18th, 2020. It's a nice, cold, and probably rainy day in Georgia today. But I wanted to do a video today and tell you that Tulsi Gabbard and Steve Inskeep of National Public Radio are both on the right track. So here we go. Tulsi supporters. Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard is on the right track when she says that the Democrats are fragmented, which they are. There is factions all over the place. You got the Elizabeth Warren faction, you got the Sanders faction, you have the AOC faction, the Omar faction. Nobody loves Pelosi, so she doesn't have a faction. You got the Adam Schiff faction in the House. And how many on the base is so fractured it's not even funny. So they're going to have a hard time with their candidate in 2020 because they got a fractured base. And Stephen Inskeep is right when he says that the United States parallels earlier history eras. But he picked the wrong one. He picked the 1856 election. Sure, there was a discrepancy, but that problem stemmed from way before 1856. Mr. Inskeep, I like your book, but you got the wrong era. The right era should have been 1798, and I'll get to that in a second. And this correlates to Tulsi Gabbard's. Mr. Inskeep in his book proposes that the reason why the 1856 election mirrored 2020 was because he said that the Democrats thought they would never win another election, and that the Republicans were demographically getting in control. Well, Mr. Inskeep, as you notice, hindsight is 2020, and you should have looked at the laws of unintended consequences, how they applied to that before you went on this history bench there, because you notice the Democrats have won a few elections since 1856. And they were very much in power up until Obama here. They're now in disarray. The Republicans are in disarray too. But here's the problem. It goes back to 1798, like I said. In 1789, George Washington was not elected president. Neither was John Adams elected vice president. So where did you guys get that they were Federalist? I don't get it. They were there. The public didn't elect them. They just went into their office. In 1792, the first election, George Washington never said he was a Federalist. Adams was a Federalist. Yeah, you can put him there. So the second term, 1793 to 1797, that's what created the Federalist, okay? And George Washington was never a Federalist. In the 1796 election, and here's where the Federalists found their problem. And this relates to you, Mr. Inskeep, and to you, Congresswoman Gabbard. In that election, the Federalists found out that, hey, you had the Bill of Rights that came in 1791, and you had two new states, Kentucky and Tennessee, 1791 and 1796. The Federalists could not get any traction. They knew that the goose was cooked, that their base was set and it was dwindling. So when Adams became president in 1797, he made disastrous choices. And by the way, the vice president who didn't count at the time was Thomas Jefferson. But he was Democrat, remember? I mean, a Republican. He was a Republican. So, because the guy who came in second place at the time became vice president. So that was not a good thing there. The Supreme Court was a joke. It hadn't established itself yet. Everybody considered it a stepchild third party to the government. The power was really in Congress. The presidency didn't have any. So Congress held the power there, and the Federalists controlled the Congress at the time. So the Federalists decided to use their power while they had it. They caused the XYZ affair, but then they went into really launch mode because they knew in 1798 that 1800 they couldn't stand a chance to win that 1800 election. Because other states from the Northwest Territories were going to be formed, and they were going to lose a lot of influence. So they went for broke, and they created the Alien and Sedition Acts of 1798. If you think you guys didn't live under the Soviet Union, oh, look at those acts. Look them up in the history books, the Alien and Sedition Acts, and you'll see how the United States was very much like the Soviet Union from 1798 till around 1802, when John Marshall became Chief Justice under Thomas Jefferson in 1801, and he threw those acts out of there. Okay? But they were the acts that probably Mr. Trump wants to pass today, because they mirror the Republican right-wing agenda of today. That's the Federalist agenda that they had back in that time. And they cost the United States a lot of problems. Back then, it was, no Irish need apply. Remember that? And they used to be 5 years before an immigrant became a citizen. They moved it up to 14 years. And then they tried to restrict the right to vote to immigrant Americans, or as they called them, and the term fits ever since, second-class citizens or paper Americans. That's where that term came from in the 1798 Alien and Sedition Act. So see, Mr. Inskeep, this is what I'm saying. You got the wrong era. And this is the problem that you have. You had the Republicans here know that they're in serious trouble. The Democrats are so fragmented. So what's going to happen? Look at the 1800 election and what happened then, and caused right directly into Civil War 50 or 60 years later. Anyway, this is your favorite alien and Bubba. Good day.